So, you know what movie I've been thinking about a lot lately? This one. I've been thinking about this movie a lot. Now, am I aware that there are problematic elements in this movie? Yes. Please don't at me. I am well aware. But with, everything going on in the world right now, I can't help but to think of that movie. Because unlike a lot of other Disney movies, where the villain is, some witch, or a wizard, or a monster, in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the villain is just a man. A man who has spent his life persecuting minorities and disabled people, and who uses his piety as an excuse for atrocities. This was a man who tried to burn a woman alive because he could not handle his own lustful feelings towards her. He is one of the most terrifying villains in Disney history. And there's a reason that when Disney decides to do its kind of like romanticized villain stuff, with Maleficent and Ursula, he is not on the list. This man is not like Ursula. He's not an undersea drag queen, okay? This is a type of villain that hits too close to home to do that with. Because this type of man exists. He exists in real life, and right now there are a whole lot of this type of man in power. Lord Frollo is the living embodiment of carnal sin. A man who loudly proclaims his own piety and uses it as an excuse for his own demonic nature. He pushes the blame of his own sins off onto other people. It is not his fault he lusts after this woman. It's the woman's fault. If this group of Romani people didn't want to be persecuted, then they shouldn't be breaking the law. After all, they're not even real citizens of France. And I keep thinking about Lord Frollo because there was a time where we understood that type of man was the villain. And not only that he was the villain, but that he was a villain so cruel, so disgusting, that Disney could barely even merchandise him. And instead of continuing to recognize him as the villain, we have instead decided to put men like him on a pedestal. To treat that kind of evil as if it is normal. But here's the other thing that The Hunchback of Notre Dame teaches us. That no matter how many excuses you make, no matter how many times you try to clear your conscience of this sin, you cannot hide from God. You can try to explain yourself to men, and they may even believe you, but God knows what is in your heart. God knows about your sins and your atrocities. Eventually, you will have to face judgment. You will have to stop creating scapegoats. The hero of this story is a disabled man who, despite loving a woman, decides to let her go, who does not hold resentment for her when she chooses someone else, who hides her when no one else will. That is what makes Quasimodo the hero. It is his selflessness. It is his respect for Esmeralda, his desire to see her happy. And that makes him the perfect foil for Frollo, who cares only about himself and his own desires, and his own control over women's bodies, and his own disgust over people who are different than him, and his own emasculation. And there are a lot of conservatives right now who have not realized they are the villain in this story. There are a lot of conservatives right now who are going to make excuses. They are going to say, my conscience is clear. God approves of me spilling this innocent blood. But there are also a lot of conservatives who are soon going to find out that they cannot run from the eyes of Notre Dame.